Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be carrying on some checks on my 2003 Suzuki Jimny to get it ready for its MOT. But as usual, before all of this, let's roll the intro. Quick rundown on what this car is. This is a 2003 Suzuki Jimny 1.3 twin cam. I bought this car a year ago, and in less than 2 weeks we need to pass its first MOT with us. Now, I am an MOT tester, so I know what I'm going to be looking for, and I know the things that we're going to have to check. I might miss one or two. You can leave it in the comments if you do it another way. This way we'll know exactly the state of the car and what parts we need to order so we can pass the MOT. So without further ado, let's jump into it. So the first thing we're going to do is just have a walk around the car and make sure that every single panel, every indicator, every mirror, for example, is nice and tight and it's not going to come loose. Let's start from this side and we do the walk around. So just a quick check with your hands, make sure that everything is nice and tight. Same thing with the indicator, with this, with the mirror, with the panels, with the window. The antenna seems firm, that seems firm, that seems firm as well, so that's that. And this one, the window looks alright. We're gonna open the fuel cap to check that, so let's go in here. Pull that lever, go in here again. As we can see, it's quite dirty, so we should clean all of that, but there's no rust, there's no holes, so we're good to go. Let's carry on. Come on the back, same thing with the lights, with the bumper, with the indicators, the number plate, tow bar, the wheel, the spare wheel. Since we're going to run the vehicle checking every single panel and checking every single door, as well we need to make sure that our doors open from the outside. It might sound silly to you, but it's something that we need to check. So that opens and closes. This opens and closes. And so that's this one. Here in the UK you can check on the manual, so if you go online and put MOT manual, it will come with every single fault and every single item that they can think of. Once we have a quick look around the car and nothing seems to be hanging, nothing seems to come loose, what we can do is proceed to look for other bits. For example, things that we might forget. Check your wipers, that they clean properly, that they're not falling apart. So let's have a look at that. I bet many of you already know how to do this, but if you don't, just make sure that this rubber here, okay, is not broken, it's not coming apart. And let's repeat the same process on that one. If your wiper blades seem to be okay, the next thing you're going to do is go inside and put the washers on and make sure that them two are actually pointing at your window and you're getting enough water to clean your window. Sounds silly, but that could be an MOT failure. Once we have the walk around and we check every panel and every item and nothing is loose or is not to come loose, we're going to have a look under the bonnet. Okay, so now that we're having a look on the engine bay, we're going to do more or less the same process as we did outside. We're going to check that everything is nice and tight, nothing is loosened. We're going to check that we got enough screen wash, enough coolant, enough power steering and enough oil. Always check your levels when you are in a flat surface, otherwise it can vary. We're going to check for that. We're going to check for leaks of any kind. We're going to check for radiator mounts. We're going to check for any corrosion, any hole. In other words, we're just going to make sure that everything is what it should be, at the level that it should be, as tight as it should be. Nothing is leaking, nothing is loose, and there's no holes where there shouldn't be holes. So just quick look around of everything. The hinges, for example, just just make sure they're nice and tight. The body of the vehicle, the lights, the radiator, the horn, the other light, the airbox, the engine cover, the bottles, any connection. Be careful when you're doing this if your engine is hot, because you can burn yourself. Same thing with the wipers, even though we already checked them. Every plastic trim, see if the bonnet is okay. Come this side here, make sure that the battery is nice and tight, that the connectors aren't loose. And to be honest, everything down here seems pretty good. I can't see, apart from of course dirt and shit and stuff like that, but I can't see anything out of the ordinary, which I'm quite happy with. Now that we have a look under the engine bay and we're happy with it, we're going to come to the inside of the vehicle. We're going to check our seats, our seat belts, the rear seats. We're going to check the pedals are not loose, how's our handbrake, how's our steering, our lights are working, the doors are opening like they should, and stuff like that. So let me show you how we're going to do this. And when it comes to inspect the door, basically what we're going to be looking is at the hinges. Just shake the door like this. Of course I can't open the door as much as I would like to be able to show you the hinges, but you get the gesture. Basically we're looking for any movement on the hinges, either the top, the bottom one, or this here. Okay, so that's what we're going to look for. Then what we're going to do is basically run our hand down the sill right here to make sure there's not holes or nothing, and it sounds nice and solid. Once we've done that, we're going to grab our headrest and we're going to give it a bit of a wiggle just to make sure our seat is nice and secure. Then we're going to go and see if it moves backwards and forwards, which it seems to do, so we're good on that. I came at the back of the car so I can show you a bit better how to check this. So basically we're going to be checking our seat belt right there. That's nice and tight, that's not moving. And in here what we're going to do, same thing as well, that's not coming apart. We're going to pull our seat belt and see if it goes back. So we're going to pull it all the way slowly and make sure that that goes back. Now you can repeat that, the same process with the one at the back and with the one on the other side. What we're going to do now with the seat belt is pull it, press it in, grab it like this, and just make sure that comes off. If when you're trying to retract your seat belt, it doesn't go back unless you give it a bit of a hand, a bit of a help, it isn't an MOT failure. But what you can do to prevent that is buy some silicone spray and just lubricate the seat belt. So just pull it back, just lubricate it here, and it will help it to go back a bit faster. As you can see on my one, I'm going to have to do it because it's not going back as fast as I would like, or as easy, let's say, as I would like. So we're going to carry out this check here at the front, at the back, and on the passenger side as well. Now that we're inside the vehicle, what we're going to check is make sure that everything is nice and tight, nothing is going to fall apart. Same thing in there, same thing here. Put your foot on the brake, get your handbrake off, and count the clicks. 1, 2, 3, 4 is already pulling. That's good. 5 is good. Grab your steering wheel, shake it up and down, side to side, see if everything is good. Just make sure that your dash is nice as well, nothing is coming apart, that you have no stone chips on your windscreen, not big enough to fail the MOT, which is basically a diameter of 10 millimeters, and it's going to have to be on this side of the windscreen or windshield, depending where you are in the world. At least here in the UK, that's how it works. If it's out of the driver's side view, it's going to have to be 40 millimeters or bigger to be able to fail it. Once we've done that, what we can do is pump or brake. If you got power steering in your vehicle or power assist, pull the steering wheel a tiny bit, and what we're going to do is the following. grab the key first, pump your brake, pull the steering wheel and start her up. As you can see, my foot is going down a bit, so the ABS is working and the steering wheel did move. So that means that both systems are working. Now we got no lights on the dash. I only have the handbrake because I got the handbrake on. One more time so you can see it. All the lights are on, and when I start it up, they all should go away besides the handbrake, because the handbrake is on. In my car we don't have a seatbelt light on because it didn't come in this model and it's not mandatory. Since we're here, what we're going to do is put the lights one by one. If your vehicle has these symbols in the dash when you start the vehicle, they should come on once you do that or that. And as you can see at the front, we got all lights on. We're going to put one indicator as it's showing on the dash, the other indicator. I do have fog lights, so my fog light is here and my light indicator is right there, as you can see, off and on. And then what we're going to do as well is put our hazards, and that should be showing there as well. Now if we turn the vehicle off, we turn all the lights off besides the hazards, we turn the vehicle off, the hazards should be still on, and it should be showing on every single indicator or side marker that you've got on. Now we can turn it off. The way that we're going to check our pedals is by grabbing them and make sure that there's not a lot of play. Right there is the mount, and we have a couple of bolts, so if those bolts are not moving and nice and tight, that should be okay. Same thing with the brake. It can have a bit of play, but it can't be excessive. And same thing with the clutch. Now up there you can see the steering column, or part of the steering column, so we can turn it. In this case we're not going to be able to see much because it's everything under the bonnet, but that's good practice as well to make sure that everything is nice and tight. When you're checking your lights as well, make sure that there's no cracks and they are not too yellow, because otherwise that can alter the picture that your light is going to project. As well, when you're checking the lights inside, have someone outside going around and making sure that every time that you put a light on, if it's your side lights, your main beam, your full beam, your indicators, your hazards, your fog lights, your reverse and your number plate lights, all of them are working. That way, if you need to buy a bulb, you can do it now and you won't fail an MOT just because one of the bulbs wasn't fucking working. So just keep that in mind. It sounds silly, but those things sometimes get overlooked, and then you get to the MOT place and it fails on a silly thing like that. Now that we have checked the outside of the vehicle, the engine bay and the interior, and we're happy with what we've seen, we're going to go where the gremlins grow, down under. So what we're going to do, first thing, make sure the car is on a flat surface. Second, we're going to chock the wheels. If the handbrake is on, we're going to release it, and then we're going to find the jacking points or safe jacking points in the vehicle, and we're going to jack it up. So let's do that. Then we're going to put our hands on the famous position 3 and 9, and we're just going to rock it just like this slightly, just to make sure that there's no play there. Once we've done that, we're going to do 12 and 6, okay? And you can see right there, don't know if you can hear it, there is a bit of play. It's not excessive, so it wouldn't be a failure, but it could be a minor though. Once we've done that, we're going to check a shock. So what we're going to do is put our pry bar down here, and we're going to push the wheel up, and we're going to check if there's any movement on the top mounts, on the shock, if everything is seated correctly. So let me show you. Alright, right here we go our shock absorber, and that's where it sits. We're going to check if there's any play up here, if there's anything broken, if the spring is snapped and all that. It's going to be a bit hard to show you while I actually do this with one hand, but we'll have a go. And as well, since we're here, what we're going to check is for any sort of corrosion or any hole or anything that it shouldn't be like that. So let's have a go. You can get someone to rock the wheel for you, as we did before on 3 and 9 and 6 and 12. we can get the back and check every single component to see if there's movement. If we have a closer look now on the tread of the vehicle, we're going to know how much more tire we got left, and as well as you can see right here, is starting to perish all around here, and most likely all around the tire. As you can see right here, that's all cracked, so that's going to go down as an advisory most likely. Once we check the tire, we have checked the wheel, we check that the wheel nuts are nice and tight. We can check right here if we got a lip on the disc. What we're going to do is proceed to check underneath of the vehicle and inside of the tire as well. So let's get under the vehicle. Once we get under here, we can have a look at the hole underneath of the vehicle. What we're going to be looking for is anything that is broken, of course, any corrosion, anything damaged, any rubber damaged or having a hole. That will be a failure for us. If it's perished, we're still holding grease, would be okay. If there's any plate on our anti-roll bar, on any component that has a bush, we're going to check our tire on the inside. And as you can see, we can see the caliper, we can see all the components of all front axle. When we're doing these checks, we don't have to go fucking crazy. With all these components that I just mentioned, all the bushes and all the rubbers and all that, when checking for play, what we're going to do is just use one of them. Just a small pry bar. I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. And that way, I wouldn't say 100%, but let's say 99%, we're sure that we have no play, that the bushes are working as they should, even if they are perished. So let's see what we can do. If you look right here, I've got my car jacked up from this arm right there. So we're not going to be able to check this bush because it's under load. What we can do is basically, without damaging that rubber, we can put the pry bar right here. As you can see right there, and just give it a bit of a wiggle, see if we got any play, and it doesn't seem like we got any. Same thing we can do down here, and you can apply this technique basically to almost any single component that has a bush. This is the way that me as an MOT tester check the bushes when carrying an MOT. So basically I'm doing a MOT at my house, if you like. I'm not going to go through every single bush because you get the gesture, but that's exactly how we do it. So this is a good practice for you to, before taking your car for an MOT or annual inspection, check that so you know that your car is good to go. When you're checking your wheels and you turn them around just to make sure that they turn freely, sometimes, like in my case, you might hear this. Alright, that could be a few things, but what I reckon it is there is some stuff, some gravel, some little stones, or basically there's something between your disc and your pad that is creating that friction and is creating that noise. Or it could be that your pads are low and either the wear pad indicator or your actual pad, the metal bit, is making contact with your disc. So for that, we're going to have to check the pads, and we're going to have to take the wheel off, and we're going to have to take the caliper. I'm not going to do that right now. I'll probably leave that for another video. But if you got that noise, that's what you could do just to make sure that your pads are good to go. I know it might be a bit obvious for some of you, but basically, if you're doing this for the first time, whatever checks you carry on one side of the vehicle, do it as well on the other side. Now what we're going to do is get the car down on the ground, and we're going to do the same thing at the back. So let's see what we can find. Once we jacked up the rear of the car and it's nice and secure, we're going to carry out the same tests that we did at the front, 3 and 9, 12 and 6. We're going to check the same thing. We're going to see if it spins, if it moves, if there's any play. We're going to get as well the pry bar at the bottom, rock the wheel, see what happens, see what we get. We're going to check as well inside the wheel arch if there's any corrosions, any holes, anything that could prevent us from passing the MOT. And when we're talking about corrosion, if you got a hole within the chassis or the body of the vehicle and it is within 30 centimeters of any structural point, which is basically, for example, where the body meets the chassis or where something bolts to the chassis, that's going to be a failure. So if we got anything like that when we're looking under the vehicle, we're gonna have to repair that first before we do anything else. The same thing, the same way we did it at the front, we're gonna check every single bush while checking for corrosion, for any holes or anything broken, such as springs or bolts or anything like it. Surface rust, as you can see up here, that doesn't count. It's only if you got holes. It's only if you got holes near prescribed areas. This bush right here, we can see it's perished. We can see all the rubber there started to break. But if we get a pry bar and we give it a wiggle, right, like that, there's no movement. There's nothing telling us that there is play in this bush. I will have a proper look under the vehicle just to make sure we don't have any holes, but if I have anything, I will let you know, mostly because there will be a video where we're gonna have to cut the part that is rotten and then weld something new. I don't remember exactly what else is wrong with this vehicle, but I remember that I made the list when I did the Christmas special. Basically, when I made the video, I'll link it up in the description there. I think it's up there. And I think it's here where I'm gonna end this video. And if you made it to the end, thank you so much. Thank you for watching. Thank you for liking. Thank you for subscribing if you do. And I shall see you very shortly.